All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Legend of the Galactic Heroes, episode 90.
90.
90. Wow.
Aha.
That was, it's been a long time, Caleb.
And the writer was also like, it's been too long, so you should just kiss, or something more.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they did that.
They got it on.
They did indeed. And now, there was much blushing to be had and things like that. And oh my God, what do we do now?
Mm-hmm.
But Reinhard popped the question.
He did. But wait, this is a interestingly awkward time right now. So give us a week.
Exactly.
I'm looking out for my daughter, but I'm also looking out for you.
You know?
Yep. She now knows why you're called Reinhard, not Reinsoft. So there is that.
But, hopefully this bit of happiness and adorableness and everything can continue.
Mm-hmm.
We might not follow up on it immediately, of course, because we've sort of been pinging back and forth between the Alliance and the Empire.
Right.
Or the, Iserlaw and Republic government and the Empire. But, I hope that continues for a while into the future, because this might be the chance for Reinhard to actually have that just slice of life, peaceful end that doesn't involve madness and or murder.
So, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion.
Okay.
All right, we had our massive riot. Mm-hmm. We had even a callback to Jessica Edwards, which kind of ties almost
with
slightly back into the idea of this whole thing here. We had Cidelet show up as just like of course he was in the crowd.
Yep.
Of course he was in the crowd. That's so cool. Just a fantastic way in which he leveled with Ruenthal. And he's like, this is where I stand.
Yep.
I am upset with myself that I did not take responsibility and I simply followed. Right. I should have been leading parts of that crowd.
And what I love about it is that absolutely. And there's almost this part of Cidelet, I feel like, where he's acknowledging how his own ideals in this situation kind of are there's an element of it that is
insufficient.
Insufficient or is troublesome, not just for the Empire but for the people of his home. Right. So him saying like
his home planet?
Yeah. Like him saying yes, putting me in prison is the right idea because he's thinking I will not be able to sit by with something like this. I can't.
You guys killed thousands.
Right. And yet, if I were to champion some bigger movement, countless more would die. Right. So it is for the best that I am kept in prison, because if not,
Yeah, it's basically the equivalent of someone saying, let me at him, hold me back, let me back. But he's not just saying that. He's basically saying, I looked at the way things were going, and I am frustrated. I am just borderline angry at the way things happened. Not just because people died. He's probably furious about that. But the fact that he played little to no part in it, he has no idea why it happened.
Yep.
But he's like, when it happened, I could have done so much more.
Right.
That's the only regret I have in this situation, is that I didn't do more. I love how this show takes things that are in really, really, really hard to fully wrap your kind of
complicated situations.
Yeah, fully wrap your observations around the entire perspective of something like that. Because if you had 200,000 people gather and then you, as the person overseeing them, decided to send 20,000 soldiers.
Yeah.
I understand having basically the crowd be watched, because 200,000...
That's a lot of people.
That's way too many people.
And in post-war time of a war that's been going on for 150 years or something, it's
insane that you would even let that kind of number of people gather.
Yep.
So in some respects, the mistake on Ruenthal's part was letting that many people gather at all. Maybe, if anything, you basically say, we have to keep them to a bunch of different groups and make them to 20,000. Because there's a mob mentality that happens when you get that many people, that if enough of the voices start syncing up,
because like
it can get crazy, especially
soldiers
putting soldiers with like weapons and stuff.
And yet that's actually that doesn't seem that crazy when you think about it from one perspective, because if you have any kind of organized like event, there will be like, police and stuff to make sure that there's not
20,000.
Well, I mean, but not 200,000 either, like.
Well, yeah, I know, but some of the events that we've had, in the greater cities that are nearby us and stuff like that go up to like easily 50% or more of that. In terms of numbers, in terms of the people assembled, like we get a lot of people going and stuff like that. And in those moments there, you need extreme amounts of regulation in terms of making sure that it doesn't go into any kind of chaos.
And that's in regular peacetime when there's no other outside pressures or whatever, like basic like sporting events or or whatever.
Yeah, those are in stadiums usually.
Right. But but it's something where 200,000 people. That's a lot of people.
It's twice as big as the city that we live in, basically. So it's like, or more than twice as big.
Yeah, it's a lot of people.
Yeah. So this whole situation then spills out to where we have an actual incident that is worthy of the history books being like, this is something that
is categorized as a massacre.
A massacre, well, definitely, but also potentially a shifting point in history itself.
Yeah.
And based on that, then there's a bunch of other planned moments that happen throughout what was once the Alliance, leading to other smaller riots.
Right.
But then those ones were not necessarily planned.
Yeah.
This is basically the early beginnings of a movement of some kind of maybe even a rebellion. We'll see.
And the hope is that it would be more of just sort of like a venting of the collective frustration of the people that are here because they have essentially been invaded and conquered, right?
Oh yeah, they have been invaded and conquered.
Right, yeah. There's no misunderstanding about that.
No misunderstandings.
Right?
No.
All things being said, with how well things have been going relatively here, this is like the first big bad thing that happened, but that's actually kind of impressive that it took this long in a lot of ways.
Yeah, but the scale at which it went wrong, though,
is the main
understated.
Issue. Yeah.
There should have been, if anything, a bunch of people that got hurt, but no one should have died. Like, no one should have been shot by soldiers.
Well, yeah, should is a
totally.
But
I'm bringing the point is that this is something where Ruenthal himself could tell that he was overacting here. He was putting too much into this. That was literally what the narrator said. It's like even Ruenthal realized that he was maybe overstepping his bounds a little bit, because he was originally going to say 10,000 soldiers, and then he decided to double it just to be safe. But maybe you just overstepped here, buddy.
Gotcha.
That was literally a thing that was said by the narrator.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
I thought they said that it would have been just fine. Or wait.
No. This time, even Ruenthal himself,
he was being needlessly concerned.
Needlessly concerned. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, he shouldn't have basically felt so concerned that he needed to escalate the number of troops and stuff like that. That's my interpretation of it.
Gotcha. I saw it as more of just a thing of precautionary measure that is needless in that it's probably going to be fine, but not necessarily that it would be excessive in the measures that would be taken to.
Yeah, but that's what he says right before this is I think it might be excessive.
Oh, okay.
But it's just to be on the safe side. And then he follows it up with the narrator saying, at this time, truly believed he was being needlessly concerned.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
And also, the purpose of the service was an amicable one, and if everything had gone as Elsheimer planned, it would have ended without incident.
Right, and that's the unfortunate thing is that the people actually organizing this whole thing, it was originally going to be,
a peaceful thing.
Yep.
But there were instigators that basically
right.
Brought this about. Now, we don't know if they're a part of the Church of Terra or if they're part of the Alliance military or if they're connected to Trunet.
Yep.
We have no real way to prove anything here. And I like that that's the case here because I really feel the pressure on Ruenthal here in that he has no easy response to this situation here.
Right, because if he didn't have troops there, it would have been a riot that would have just, say, broke out into the city. Maybe not as many people would have died, but it would have, potentially gained more traction or something like that, or who knows, right?
Yeah, you can't know what would have happened.
Right.
The whole thing might not have even happened then,
Yep.
you know?
Yep, it's totally possible, right?
Yeah. But I liked the idea that they're like, well, if this ends up becoming a thing that goes bigger than just our planet on Highness in here, that's okay as long as we have specific things being kept here. They said as long as we secure communications and transportations, localized revolts are not to be feared. But that's the scale that they're thinking about here. As long as we can talk to each other and we can keep moving people, our people around and stuff like that.
And the riots don't connect, basically.
Right, and keep them from connecting with each other here.
Yeah.
We're okay. This is like a case study, basically, in terms of how you manage groups in this nature here.
Sure.
Is you cut off their transportation and their communication.
Yep.
And
then suddenly you're not dealing with you're not dealing with a big group, you're dealing with a bunch of small groups. Divide and conquer, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that means though that once things head to those areas,
then it gets a lot less manageable.
Right. Story-wise, they literally just drew up the stakes. They just told us how it can go wrong.
Right. If that happens, then it goes bad. Yeah. And
if that happens,
right,
it's a rebellion.
Yes, and it's a wonderful look into the idea of society in general, and the fact that with how many people are just, you know, alive and living and breathing in our current world, the idea that there could be groups of individuals, when it comes right down to it, that are directing, you know, these masses of people, right, of the populace, that's a bit ridiculous. You put it into a sci-fi and suddenly it's like, well, yeah, of course, things like this, they would absolutely happen, you know, because this might be the equivalent of, like, in our world, of if there was something where, you know, 20 people died at a, you know, a crazy riot or whatever. Still, you know, like morning news and tragedy and all that stuff, but it's the, oh yeah, that's how easy it is, right? In this universe, because, you know, a group, you know, an event with 200,000 people that turns into a riot. Yeah, that's actually relatively small, all things considered. You know, like that could have been much worse. You know.
Okay. Yeah. I liked the setup for the fact that there were those that entered the corridor recently. And then we find out that Attenborough is the one that staged the letter specifically to Ruenthal.
Yeah.
Which, the fact that this letter came all the way from Iserlohn.
That's impressive.
It already done its damage. After that, then Ruenthal is like, we need to stop everything going to and from Iserlohn.
Yep.
Which is interesting, because what he's basically saying is we haven't been doing that up until this point.
Right. Someone slipped up, you know, somewhere along the line.
Well, he specifically said something happened the other day.
Right.
No one enters the corridor without authorization. Like, what happened the other day?
Yep.
Which is a cool little setup maybe for what was Boris Konev's ship.
Sure.
That went over there. And it's like, oh yeah, we're aware that ship went through. And we're monitoring things, but we're not actually actively blockading things here.
Right.
So I'm excited for the world where they're like, okay, we want to try and send people out now.
Yeah, and
should we try and smuggle some people out? And then Ruenthal's going to be like, no. Then things could spill out into where Iserlohn could actually get involved. Because if they're really actively being blockaded here, I'm interested to see what happens when basically they start firing guns at a ship trying to enter the Iserlohn corridor or trying to leave.
Right, because the whole idea of, no, let's just let Iserlohn sit.
Yeah.
And that's probably our best bet. And if they do manage to be able to function as a self-sustaining government, then good for them.
They're going to be cut off from the rest of the galaxy anyway. It doesn't matter to us.
But even if they do, then we can deal with that later, and then maybe have, you know, whatever would happen then, right?
Yeah.
But until then, let them sit. There's a very good chance they'll just fizzle out. You know.
Well, yeah. Or you said they'll
cannibalize each other.
Yeah, they'll turn up against each other, which is that's crazy. Okay, so then we have on the Iserlohn side of things, because that was kind of used as the transition point into this here. Well, this episode did feel like very like textbooky in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
A lot of things are focused on Julian and how whether or not he is being the best version of himself he can be for Iserlohn, but also for the future of democracy, basically. And a lot of it was discussing basically how he seems to be focusing sometimes too much on Yang, and he should let himself be a little bit more free to kind of bring the new wave of the new generation into this here. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of like curious about how much of the episode was basically spent on like discussing, without Julian there, like, you know, how Julian is doing, how things are going with him, and, you know, what's her name? Katarose von Krutzer, yes. Mm-hmm. I don't know, it seemed kind of soapy in a funny way.
It felt like the kind of answer episode to the scene within the episode to the previous episode with Reinhard and Mariendorf, where it's like while the romance stuff is progressing with them, sure, what's happening, you know, on the other side of things, right? Yeah. And it's to the point that Kazern is just straight up talking about how, oh, let's hope no, sorry. Frederica was talking to Julian about how let's hope she ends up being a better cook than I am, and
well, she doesn't take after me. She takes that regard after Madame Kazern,
right? And, you know, for your sake, kind of a thing. And he didn't. You know? Like that would be the classic time for Julian to be like, "What? No, I don't know what you're talking about." You know that.
But everyone's basically treating it like, "Oh no, we get it."
Yeah. You're basically a thing, but it's complicated. You're not quite a thing yet. Whatever. Mm-hmm. You know. Yeah. And Julian's not denying.
Yeah, literally the whole freaking infrastructure of the alliances, not the alliance, the Isolon Republic's little upper group or whatever, all ship them, and is basically like, you guys can just do whatever you want. We don't care.
Keeping up with Kreutzers, you know?
Keeping up with, like, exactly. Julian and Katarose.
Yep.
But she's definitely, like, into him. But not only that, she has this, like, really, like, oh, like, you feeling down? Like, you know, you need a little bit of a pick-me-up, you know? Like, something else like that or something. And then Shunkov comes in and is just like, yo. And he's...
Hi.
I am also conveniently here.
Right.
God, I don't know what to say about this episode other than it felt so, like, textbooky. And then it would go full soapy where it's just like, look at all these people conveniently talking about other people.
Yeah.
Because they're relevant in the other half of the galaxy. It's like, we're going to talk about TrueNet. Why? Well, because, you know...
Yep.
Yeah, TrueNet's doing stuff over there, you know?
There was a point in this episode where I thought for sure that the episode was going to basically end, right?
Right.
Like I think it was once they had the narrator had the conversation or started talking about Ruenthal and what he would decide.
Yeah, but the episode hadn't gone long enough, so we were like, wait, hold
on. And
then this really hard transition of things happening all over
it's
the
like
new land of the Empire or whatever.
All right. Yeah. Let's have this sort of like fun, campy, like, you know, like just because I totally could see that happening. In it's like a comedic twist on what Ruenthal's experiencing of the, a soldier in peacetime is just a guard dog. Well, what about soldiers in peacetime when it's
all
like,
about just family and
right?
Friends
it's just we're bored. What do we do? What's Julian up to with Katarose? Like, how's that going? Oh, I don't know. You think they're gonna like? It's the teachers in the teachers' lounge that are like, so which students, you know, are gonna get together? Like,
it's really true. God, oh my God, it's so funny how true that is, because we know that they're gonna get together. It's just more of the thing of where is this the type of show that's going to slow down the pacing as we approach the end, or accelerate the pacing as we head towards the end, so that they can have really dramatic, you know, kind of payoff, end of the series kind of like, Julian is now 35 years old, you know, the same age Yang was when blah, 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 blah. And now, you know, there's sweeping political changes within what was once the Empire or stuff like that. And it's like, but when it does stuff like this, I'm like, I can't tell what it wants to do. It's doing like sweeping textbook, like the stuff in the Empire is this crazy stuff. And then over in Isolon, it's like, let's keep up with the dramatic, like, you know, personal relationship stuff of Julian. And I'm like,
these are two very different things.
Very different things.
And then in the same episode, we have Church of Terra being like, all right.
Yes, exactly.
And now
we will commit the ultimate resting of the galaxy.
You ever heard of ancient Rome? You know, like we will do a religious upheaval because we will make it so the ire is all drawn on and all the stuff. I'm like, okay, this is very interesting. I'm very excited to see how this goes.
They're trying to create the Holy Roman Empire that was born out of the Dark Ages of the Roman Empire's actual fall. then becoming basically this thing that became
other thing,
that became the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
Just straight up like,
Great.
we're going to mimic how the Catholic Church rose.
Oh no! Oh yes, it's the Catholic Church. They'll save you from yourselves.
Oh no, it's the Catholic Church.
But oh man, all right, okay.
Yeah. This is interesting. We have 20 episodes left.
Mm-hmm.
We have a death cult that is trying to take control of the galaxy. They are going to use Ruenthal as a means by which to instigate Reinhard into becoming a full-on dictator tyrant.
Right.
Like a tyrannical dictator. Because he already has dictatorial power in that respect. But they want him to become one that is a hated dictator.
They want to golden bomb him.
Yeah, exactly. And in order to do that, they're going to use Ruenthal as something that will maybe instigate some kind of civil war, which will then tear down the structure. Or what they think will happen is that Reinhard will just destroy Ruenthal,
and in doing so,
consolidate
he'll also lose
more power, and thus make it easier for him to be toppled, and then that power to be
attack his sanity and all that
else.
stuff. And
in some ways, though, they need Reinhardt to live long enough to where he becomes old and
can actually go on that downward spiral.
And can go on that downward spiral, because I don't think Reinhardt will do that with all these people around him.
Well, that's why they're trying to separate him from those people and such.
Yeah, but I just feel like that if things went into wartime again, then those people would come around him even more. Like, he would have the Admiralty closer around him.
I think what they're trying to do is make it be something where it's not wartime, it's like against Ruenthal. Like, because, maybe that happens, then he resolves it. But then in peacetime, he's still in war mode, and then starts
paranoid and starts attacking his own friends.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Ruenthal, win the battle that you don't even necessarily know you're being pushed into.
Yeah.
And
I love that you're making TrueKnit squirm. That what did he call it? That rule that that you abhorred. Wait, no, that I abhorred. And that jab of just like, yeah, I know what you were about, TrueKnit, when you ruled here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then TrueKnit just straight up says it. He has absolute disdain for the people. Absolute disdain for the people. It sounds to me, TrueKnit sounds to me like a really out of touch, like mega big like streamer or YouTuber who just decides to be like, I'm just gonna talk shit about all my fans and stuff.
Like, it could be the rise could be in a similar way, because he basically was born aloft like on the kite, or whatever as he called it.
Right.
And yeah, I could definitely see that being a similar thing.
It's just like someone put a recording device on this snake and just have his GPS location just leaked to the general populace.
Damn.
I mean, it's TrueKnit, dude.
Well, yeah.
It's TrueKnit. This snake deserves to get stepped on.
The thing is, though,
please tread on him.
Yes, absolutely. But I want it to be done with like
a little bit more panache.
With panache and posh, because
so
TrueKnit,
who should do it?
TrueKnit doesn't deserve martyrdom.
Wait,
he's
perfect to do it.
Who?
They mentioned literally Oberstein. They're like, what would happen though if TrueKnit got put under the nose of the great man Oberstein? And I was just like, oh.
Yeah. Oberstein. I would love to see him just
cold.
Just cold and stuff, but being in just the same room as TrueKnit. And TrueKnit's like trying to do his thing. Like maybe he tries to like talk like pretty or whatever to Oberstein, and Oberstein's just like. And then he turns to his Dalmatian. He's like, "What should we do, Spot?" Okay. All right. Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I can't wait for TrueKnit to go down though. That's all I'm saying. But y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.